to. So let's get going. We're right here at the top of the time. Let me hit my timer to make sure we stay on time. Hi, everybody. My name is Kevin Brown. I am the dual role esports program specialist with the Orange County, California Department of Education. I'm a credentialed CTE teacher teaching middle school, high school, and college level, teaching hospitality, restaurant tourism. I'm also the director for all global education and training with NASEF. Back here, the North American Scholastic Esports Federation. So I'm imagining you're all here today for either the Portuguese lesson or you're here to learn about esports. Here's my colleague. This is Peter. Say hi, Peter.
Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Whitmore, and I am Coordinator of Technology Innovation and Assessment, supporting secondary education at Moreno Valley Unified High School. My title is length is only surpassed by Kevin's, and I'm happy to share just a little bit about what we're doing in our school district, our journey from June of this year to present day. So looking forward to that piece.
Excellent. So Gracia, do you want to throw the presentation up or want me to do that? I think I've got the rights, right? I got it. It's right here.
Okay.
Let me do this. Let me hit that button there. This is my share screen. You can tell I do this for a living, right? All right, and we'll put this into present mode. Once I find the present button, it's hidden from me now. Too much stuff. Oh, this is why I love and hate Google. Not that one. You can see now. I've blocked myself out. There you are. You. Roberto Hernandez, let's bring him in.
Yes, you want to mine too.
Yeah, there you go. Where's my present button? There we go. It's hidden. All right, here we go, folks. Let's move this up out of the way. We're going to talk about this, and this is a polarizing statement right from the very beginning that it's okay for your students, for your kids to actually enjoy, lean into video games. Really quick show of polls. You can use your reaction emojis if you'd like, just to give me a reaction. Yes or no, you agree with the sentiment? Esports, good thing, not so good thing? I appreciate all of your candor. You may say no, you guys are out of your minds. And that's okay, you can still stay, I won't boot you out. Party, says Allison, this is good. Manraj is staying silent, he's not quite sure, he's on the fence. I know why Steve's here, he already drank the Kool-Aid. So the rest of the audience is looking to be convinced. Okay, perfect. That's fine. That all works for me. So let's talk a little bit about it. I'm going to show you a game that we typically play. Peter has worked with me on this before. We did this presentation in summer. We had a little bit more time. We don't have all the time we'd like today, unfortunately, to show you this, but I'll show you how I begin to broach the subject with parents, with educators, with administrators of schools, school districts, principals, with politicians, definitely with students who say, yeah, I want to play, but what do you mean there's a link between play and college? No, I don't want to do that. Yes, you do. It looks like this. So let's play my game. I call it Soul Forge. I ripped this out of a Thor movie, but it's a really cool idea. It's this idea that you can become whatever you want to be. In a few short minutes, I'm going to take you through and prove the linkage. So it goes like this. I'm going to show you on the next slide a series of images, and I'd like you in your mind to pick an image. And that image is going to be you. It's going to be the heroic you, like you step through a magical portal and you become this image, but you're going to fill it full of life and character and cool abilities. You're totally going to walk into this role. So we usually do this by going out to another website, and then we do this experientially. We come back to it. Again, we're not going to do this today. Play along with me. So what I do is I show these images, and maybe you all want to play along. Gracia, you can watch and see who jumps in the chat. Which images call out to you? If you could be any one of those images, which one looks interesting to you? A role you could play, you see yourself. Now, I'm not Dr. Phil. I don't judge what you come up with, all right? So if you tell me you're number 10, the water wraith, I don't have any psychological inference for you. You just think it's a cool shape. Really quickly, drop into chat. What looks good? What would you be if it was you? If you could be any of these characters? And I'm going to tell you what we're going to do with it. You're going to say, what are we seeing? Any numbers popping in?
Yes, we have a 2.
Everybody loves 2.
4, 1,
Nice.
7,
Oh, we're all over the place. Good. So 7, I wonder, is that a Final Fantasy 7 or is that a Pokemon 7? We'll have to see who that is. Most people are like, which one is it? So we have everybody who participates. We pick a character. With that character in mind, then we do this. We go out to this cool website. I created a little hyperspatial pocket out on a Google Drive where you're going to load up your character with some attributes, things that are important to you, things that call out to you. It looks like this. What I have participants do is pick 10 points from each of the columns. So there's a physical set of attributes, a mental set of attributes, and then there are these cool unseen forces. You can teleport, you can slow time, you can summon animals. Kevin, what's a master builder? I don't know. That's for you to interpret. I just put it up there and I put some points next to it. So people are rapidly thinking, okay, I get 10 points for each. And the idea is that now you go out into this little drive and you start to pull these powers across. And what the students and everybody who participates does is they begin to load up this character. We call this in gaming terms an RPG, a role-playing game. You're creating something. And what we're doing is showing that these interesting skills and abilities actually mean something to you as a person. I teach people that let's do this as well. Every hero has something in their past, right? Nobody is born 100% on top of everything. I'm super rich. I'm super pretty. I know everybody. People love me. I love them. Everything is golden. No, every hero usually has something, we'll call it the tragic flaw, something they have to overcome in order to become that hero or that heroine self. So here's an example. So what we do is we go through, we pick all those skills and abilities, we add up the points, I make you do math, but people are writing, you can see on the screen, they've got a little backstory going on. And I typically give about 10 minutes to do this, and that would eat about 1/3 of our presentation time. But what we end up with is this, a debrief about where are you? And I'll tell you again, suspend your disbelief for a second, we're going somewhere with this. So we have people tell us why they picked the hero they did, why they picked the main attribute, and if they could play this hero in a game, would they? But even more importantly, and I'm serious about this question, if you could become this hero after a fashion, would you do it? The audience goes 2 ways very quickly. Peter saw this over the summer. Half went, yes, and the other half went, you are a charlatan. There's no way my cool lizard warrior could actually live in this world. There is. Hold on to your seats. Here we go. Here's what happens. Here are actual student reflections from this summer who actually played this game with me. So some young lady picked this character out of a game called Overwatch. And I said, okay, why? What did you do? Look what she said. I picked this because I want to have a big brain, but I've also personally, I've got crazy athletic skills. So I wanted to pick a character and I picked the skills and abilities so I could talk to lots of people because she thought being multilingual gives you a big advantage in a lot of things in life. Love this insight. Good. She was a dual language speaker. She was bilingual. She said, I also added something about myself. I was the hyperspatial calculus person because she liked calculus, somebody who loved math. I looked at her like, really? That's my kryptonite, math. Ugh. But then she said, I'm also really athletic, so I gave myself super speed, super sensitivity, because I like to be sensitive to things around me. Again, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm beginning to understand a lot about this young lady as she's loading into this character. She's got a good sense of self-assessment. She recognizes she's bilingual. That's a skill she can use in the future. She knows that she's good at math, and she also likes her physical set of abilities. Cool. Watch this next one. Kid picks this, the Reaper Bunny. This is what makes most principals go, this is a problem. And then he starts his essay by saying, my character isn't a hero. He does it for money. He's a merc. He's a mercenary. I'll do any task as long as there's coin involved. So already, like parents and teachers like, oh, what are you doing to my kids? You're affecting him poorly. He's got a broken past. These are the students' actual words. His parents died trying to protect him from the people in the world because he had superpowers, special powers. So they wanted to protect him and they paid with their own lives. So now he's like, I'm out for blood. I'm doing this. This is payback for that evil, evil world. He does this mercenary gig until he has a revelation. This is a child writing this story, a high school student. Eventually he grows a heavy heart and chooses to do tasks that are only right. What a turn. And then he says, I'd love to play this character because I'd love to see where this story goes. So I've got people now hooked on this, and maybe you are as well. If you're thinking about, I would have picked that character, that's cool. I had no idea about this kid and the way he wrote it. So what happens? what we're leaning into right now, and a little bit of a spoiler, is some of the university research. NASEF has partnered with the University of California, Irvine as part of a 5-year grant study. And information that comes out shows us that kids who lean into esports, especially in a moderated club environment, see these immense rises. There are 19 factors we're studying over this 5-year survey. And you can see very clearly, blue is STEM. Kids are telling us when we interview them and when they answer surveys that, yeah, I am not just interested in STEM, I'm interested to see what esports, the different kinds of careers, where I can go with this. And I can apply these things I'm learning in my audio visual production class, I can actually bring to my club and actually use those skills. School affiliation. There's an esports club on campus. I feel better attached to my school. I don't feel disenfranchised. Don't forget, esports is a virtual world kind of thing. Kids are digitally native. They live out here. They're used to logging in to go meet each other. But if I have this club in my school space, I won't go home and sit in my room and do it by myself. I'll come to school. I'll be part of a bigger community, on-campus culture. And I like this. It's engaging for me. Look at what gets the really big peak between social skills and self-regulation. There is a theory in the world that esports, shooter games make shooter kids. Violence in video games makes for violent behaviors in kids. And research over these going into year 5 now, are clinically proving, I'm using this word because this is what an IRB study shows, proving that kids in a club moderated by an adult with a purpose and a plan, not just gaming, but other meaningful activities, settle down. We don't have addictive behavior and tendencies. We don't become violent. Our toxicity drops. We actually lean in and focus. We look for opportunities to embrace diversity, equity, inclusion. We learn 21st century skills that are very hard to teach in school. How do I teach consensus building, problem solving? I can give you a problem, but you don't really show me the work. I don't see the social dynamic, but we get this every day that we have a club. So if we bring these pieces together, we take the learning, the values of education, we chain it to intentional play, playing with a purpose. That's where we get esports. We define this as the intentional use of this video gameplay as a vehicle for learning. It's a hook, both emotionally and educationally, and kids will say, yes, I would like more of it. So 4 years ago, I was approached by Orange County Department of Ed and said, Kevin, you're a curriculum developer. Can you write an English language arts program? Sure. Can you write it through the lens of career tech education? We want to put it through a business angle. Sure, lots of precedent for that. Can you write it for esports? And I remember throwing my phone at the screen. We call it rage quitting because I didn't believe it. I thought, no, this is this. You want me to write a course for thumb monkeys. Education in esports didn't exist. Well, I ate my own words, and now I'm doing this job for 4 years like penance. It becomes this idea that what you see there, not just the player, I'm pointing at my own screen, at the middle of the screen, but these domains, these inferences that come out of kinds of work shape what a kid can do. Not everybody plays an esport. And if there's a club on campus, not everybody can get onto the team, but any child can do any of these kinds of work. Some of you are looking at this saying, wait a minute, these look like they are CTE level classes. 9 of our state's 16 sectors are represented here in esports. Health and wellness is also kind of a membrane that overwraps all of this. So I kind of spoiled that next thing. If we take those 16 kinds of work, these CTE career pathways, these college majors, journalism is a college major, entrepreneurship, marketing is a college major, event organizing is my beloved hospitality, that's a college major. They actually form bigger. It's hard to read. These are 120 kinds of work that spring from esports that don't say player character, doesn't say I'm Kirby, I'm Bowser, I'm Mario. That might be where I got my influence. That might be where I got my interest. But here is doctor, lawyer, physical therapist, business owner, fashion merchandise, audio visual, working on news as broadcaster. All of these are potential jobs that spring from esports if we can just get them involved. So here we are, the two of us, NASEF and Moreno Valley Unified School District, really embracing this idea and leaning into the wind that we can actually do something academically using esports as a hook. Peter, you want to talk a little bit about this next slide? I mean, you typically don't do this one, but you're doing this in Moreno Valley. Why don't you come off mute?
You're muted.
Thank
There
you.
we go.
Yeah, so
Yep.
we're new to esports from a district stance. We had clubs, we had a couple of clubs at our schools that happened organically pre-COVID, and I wish Josh was here. Josh Combs is my partner in crime, and he really had the vision for making it a Scholastic enterprise across the district. And so that's exactly, that green bar at the top is exactly what we're trying to do year one. We've developed a 3-year strategic plan where we're trying to build an esports ecosystem that includes all the 3 things you're seeing: the community, the curriculum, and the clubs. And it's really working out great. Of our 13, well, we're thinking 12, and ended up being 13 secondary schools. All of them now have an established esports program of some kind. Either it's a club, or it is a class, or it's both. And then we're going to start focusing on elementary in years 2 and 3. But yeah, interfacing with the community when it comes to educators. I see some of my coaches on this call. There's 4 of them by my count, I think. There's Mrs. Moore, Ms. Alvarez. I see Don Palmer on here and Roberto Hernandez. It's great seeing the brilliant minds that have come together and see the value in this opportunity, and really applying their skill set to make it enhanced even more so. And I just love learning from them and passing the learning on to others. And we'll learn more about that later, but what a great slide.
Thank you. I'm sitting here typing with Ms. Moore's class. She's got her entire class watching as the kids pick which session to pick next, so no pressure. But I'm glad they're here, because this is all for you. I want you kids in this class to know that my full-time job is to talk to your parents, your administrators, your teachers, so they see the value of this, so you can do all these things, so you can become part of this culture that brings in esports. It points at all the things you want to, all the things you want to do in the future. So we talk about the fact that NASEF is recruiting, and by recruiting, we mean that we want you in, but not just to play games. Games are certainly a part of it. Games fit, whether casually or like what Peter's doing in his district, that this is going to become a varsity level thing. This is going to be the same as football, water polo, tennis. It's going to be that kind of influence, that kind of drive to succeed. But you can do this casually, but again, look around there. There's education. There are goals. We want you to set your sights on college. And if not college, where do you go to work? You can pick all kinds of amazing jobs in and around esports, whether or not you go pro. So, and we play all kinds of games, and all of those games have these similar skill sets baked in them. So if you don't see the game you like, that's the beauty of the club. You get to pick it and do it. So here's what I want you to think about, everybody on the call here. So when we had you pick those attributes, and they sounded like fantastical, like my one young student said she could speak any language, there's an educational component to that, right? You can take a class in a foreign language, you can, or I should say world language. You can take a class in journalism or literature. You can refine and use the spoken word, the printed word, the visual word, storytelling, write movies. And there are career possibilities tied to all these things. Yes, even Animal Whisperer, anything you can think about has a job related to it, like that cool Candy Crush slide I showed you. So I'm just wondering, right now, take a little break and think about this. You still on board with me? Is this still a valid concept? Esports and education equals amazing potential in the future? How are we all feeling so far? You can use your emojis on screen, or you can drop into the chat. Nobody has dropped off yet. This is a good sign. Gracia's like, I want to go back to school. I want to do this full time. This is a cool job. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this. As I said, this began not with gaming. We didn't jump into this just as a game. We started with university level research. So this wonderful woman who happened to have been our keynote speaker, Dr. Constance Steinkühler, leads up the research team through Connected Labs. You heard her give some of her data. And so I'm going to steal a little bit of her thunder. She might have shown you this slide, but video games do more than just teach you to get good at a particular game, right? It does give you something like this, that first one, visual acuity and attention, hand-eye coordination. Can I tell you, some kids are saying, I want to go into the military, I want to fly a helicopter, I want to fly a jet. Excellent, love this idea. Fighter pilot, good idea. But if you don't have a key element, if you do not have hand-eye coordination, I don't care if your dad knows somebody, your mom knows somebody, knows a senator, if you have a PhD in physics, that won't matter. If you don't have hand-eye coordination, you can't fly the plane. Video games help you fly the plane. They develop that skill set. Video games give you language skills. You've got to hear and react, speak and be understood. You got to use problem solving skills. Anybody who's done a dungeon crawl, an RPG, you've got to figure out puzzles in Zelda, problem solving. You also use problem solving with the teammates on the team, right? How do we get out of stuff? We do know that traditional sports teach us a lot, and we can infer that video games have the same kind of components. Like, we require in NASEP a grade point average. You got to have a 2.0, a C or better to get into and stay in the club. You can come in with less, but we want you to raise that up because this is the S stands for Scholastic. So sports, you know that you got to have a decent GPA to be on a sports team. We know that traditional sports really gives a love of the campus and a love of the group because you're all tied around the sport. Guess what? Esports culture does the exact same thing. It also teaches you persistence. Anybody who's played any game and gotten good at it knows there are hours and hours of what we call grinding to get really good at a game. That same persistence is a skill you'll need in life. I'm telling you, how do you get to the next level in life? How do you get a promotion? Some days you grind. Some days you got to do hard work to get where you want to go. What it teaches us is this. This is what these university studies are showing us, is that kids, when we poll them at the end of every year, thousands of our students, and we have tens of thousands in NASEP worldwide, they're telling us that they use their math and their science skills in blue and green, that they even improve their English scores. But what's important is what's in orange: social emotional learning skills. Kids settle down. Kids take responsibility for what comes out of their mouth or what they type in chat. They're becoming better digital citizens and realizing, I'm good. I carry the team, but in League of Legends, I'm 1 of 5. I'm 20% of that excellent. I've got to help the rest of my club, and I can't just pop off. I need to chain together and work with them. So let me figure out how I'm going to get good so they can all get good. And we love this research. Year over year for the last 5 years, these numbers only improve and deepen. So year 4 teaches us, like I said, this club format is where it's at, not just random play, because play is fun, no doubt about it. I get like an hour a week to play my own games of choice. But when I'm with a group, and I'm doing it this weekend, I got a bunch of friends coming over, we're all playing a massive game together. There's something that happens in the group space where we're doing more than just gaming. We're teaching each other, we're learning from each other, and we're getting better as a group. And again, clinical research proves that this is a benefit. Whereas when we take our foot off the gas and we don't give that oversight as adults and we don't practice as students, we get worse. So group is where it's at. So this research formed curriculum. Again, I had to write curriculum to a whole bunch of standards: the state standards, career tech education standards, next generation science standards, all these standards. So we built the first English language arts classes, which are used all over the United States at this point, fully approved by the state of California, A through G. It gets a UCB rating. And then these are translated into other state standards simultaneously, and now being used in Japan and Israel, South Africa, all over the globe. But now there's bigger, better. Ms. Moore's class, this is for you. Merry Christmas early. This is an entire 4-year program of study. All the classes you need to get out of high school into college with good grades, esports centric, every one of these. Our English class tied to a career tech education series that gets you good somewhere in that ecosystem of esports. You graduate on time with good GPA, focusing on a career path, and you get to game. This guy is Santa Claus. Where did he come up with this? We built it for high school. We also built it for middle school. I practiced on my own grandson, took it to his middle school, built a whole curriculum. It's a semester-long class. This works at middle school. It works out of school for community-based organizations like YMCA. We're across the United States and all kinds of YMCA programs teaching the exact same thing. Peter's going to talk in a little bit about exactly what they've done for Moreno Valley. You can actually see chunk by chunk how this works. So some of you are scratching your head saying, okay, so where do I find an esports teacher? You're already one of them. If you're on this and you're listening, you're an esports teacher. Anybody either is this, does this, can find a way through. My good friend Steve Isaacs was this for years, although not the traditional way. You don't go to school to get a degree yet in esports. I haven't written it yet, but any teacher can teach through esports. Esports is a hook, is a tool by which you teach whatever your topic is. And NASEP can help you improve how you do that. So Then we form clubs. So research helps make curriculum. Curriculum tells us how to work academically. Now the club formation. We have mission, vision, values, just like you do in your school. These 5 values, which are NASEF's values, are the same one in Moreno Valley. They're the same anywhere in RCOE. Everywhere throughout Riverside, you've got these painted on your walls. The most important one might be that one at the bottom right, respect. Every NASEF club globally in their language has a code of conduct and has a club charter, a self-governing document that talks about how we're going to take care of ourselves, how we're going to treat kids that we play when we go out and we spar and we have competitions, and what's going to happen if we misspeak, if we say something unkind, if we type something malicious in chat, if we do things that aren't cool, there will be repercussions, there will be consequences. You tell me what those are. NASEF doesn't fly in. Peter doesn't come in like the bad cop and drop on you. We hold you accountable to your standards. Every club does this everywhere. And this is why we're able to succeed the way we do, that we're able to provide these 5 C's for you. We help you form clubs. We've got curriculum for you if you want it. We show the career pathways that are important to you. We provide coaching for a lot of the games that we've got, and you'll have coaches among yourselves, high school students teaching middle school students, college students teaching the high school students. And then, yes, we set up competitions. Peter's going to tell you about what they've got planned for MV coming up in a second, right here, as a matter of fact. So go ahead and roll. You're co-host, so you should be able to click it and pick it, I think, yeah? Or maybe you tell me.
Let me see. I guess you just have to enable screen sharing and we'll switch.
Okay.
While we're switching, in the chat,
Let me do this.
what questions do you have for Kevin or myself? Throw it in the chat there. And we'll definitely answer for you.
There's multiple, so go for it, Peter. See if you can do it.
I think I have to actually, let me kill this really quick.
Let me stop.
Oh, it worked.
There you go. That's
I changed the settings, so you should be okay.
You're brilliant.
To share. Okay, let me share separately, though, I think is what I have to do.
Okay, let me stop sharing.
Here I go.
All right, you're up.
Okay, do we have any, Gracia, do we have any questions in the chat? I'm not looking at the chat at the moment.
Esports rocks.
we had one. Someone was asking if they can have the copy of the slides.
Of course, of course.
Yep. Yeah, sure,
and
sure thing.
Manraj asking about what games can we play. We're going to talk about that in just a couple of slides.
Yep.
But the short answer is whatever your school or your district allows, you get to set those terms. We can suggest, you pick though. Go for it, Peter.
Yeah, so I'll start backwards actually and show you what we've developed and actually doodled this on a scratch piece of paper with Kevin and Josh, the aforementioned Josh Combs, in June, I think. And then now I just turn it into a slide so it looks like I know what I'm talking about, you know. But this is what we're thinking for a fully realized esports ecosystem in our district. So if anybody is, you know, either watching this call or listening to the recording later, if you're wondering, you know, what is one way to start a district program, this is a way, and it's working very well so far for us. Of course, there's many correct answers in this work. This is just the pathway that we've chosen. So when we talk about our ecosystem, we're really talking about programs, leagues, and events. And I use the word program. We really focus on the clubs first, and could be clubs or classes. But the fact that we just want to establish NASEF clubs at all of our firstly or secondary schools, and then when elementary schools hear about it, we are helping them out as well. We're going to market to them secondly, but first, for now, we're focusing on secondary. And so that's our main goal of year one, is to of our 13 secondary schools, could we get at least 10 on board? Well, not only did we get 10, we got 13. And plus a couple elementary. So we're already 150% to goal when it comes to program establishment. The idea is that our secondary programs can join any season in any league, including CIF at high school. I don't know that anybody's mentioned it yet, but esports is actually a CIF sanctioned event at the high school level. So kids actually participate like they would in football or baseball or basketball, but it's for esports. And so they can do that at, you know, as we're actually going to pay all of our high schools CIF dues. I don't think I've told anybody that. So newsflash to my coaches on this call. That's something I'm working on behind the scenes. So as far as leagues, what we're thinking about, again, this is not all going to happen year one. I'm just showing you what, after say 3 years, what we hope to have in place is that we'd have an actual internal league in the fall with a tournament at the end. We'd have a winter league with a tournament at the end, and then a spring
Peter,
league.
I'm not
Yes,
seeing
sir.
anything come up on screen. I
Oh,
just
no.
see the, hang on, let me see this. No, I'm not getting anything either.
Oh, it looks so great on my end.
There we go.
Is
Okay.
that better?
There it is.
Gracia,
Okay, now I
Gracia,
got,
can you see everything?
I got
can.
blues to greens. Okay, there we go.
Okay, cool.
I can.
Yeah. So this is what we're working on now, and we are really close. This is the exciting news that I hinted at to my coaches in our teams channel. We're really close to landing this one down here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but the winter tournament. We're doing building a scrim tournament at one of our high schools in December, and going to invite teams of 5 to come play Smash Brothers together for our first in-person event. We're this close to getting it approved, so that's the exciting news. If you were wondering what that was, MVUSD people. So that's how we want our year to go, and then at the end of the year, we would want to have basically an invitational, which basically everybody's invited, but where we're having a giant MVUSD tournament and then an esports expo, a Scholastic esports expo. I just couldn't fit the word Scholastic in that yellow box. But the reason I bring that up is I want evidence of the college and career pathways occurring on site in real time at this event. So while there are esports gaming matches going on, let's say Smash matches, I want off to the side to see, I want our kids to be shoutcasting it after they win the right to do so with a shoutcasting competition that I'm drawing up. But also I want some game artists, some fandom artists to be sketching in real time. And I want the camera to cut to them so we can check in on how their drawing is going and what they're talking about. I want the different pieces of Scholastic pathways that students can join to be on full display. That's the expo part of that piece. And then something else we planned for, but ended up not doing this year, really because for all the resistance I was ready to help out with, shall we say, as far as people unfamiliar with esports and the value of it. I haven't come up against it yet. I know that I will, but we were all set to have to do a beginning of the year parent info night, like what is this thing? But it grew so organically from the students at these different sites that we didn't feel the need to do so yet, which doesn't mean we won't do so in the future, but it's on our chart in case we want to go that route. So that's our ecosystem. Again, it's not meant to all be completed in 1 year. This is after, say, 3 years of diligent effort. And if any of you are on the call or listening later, want to know some of the growing pains or learning lessons or pain points or things that we learned along the way, that's this next slide. I add to this almost daily of things that I learned, but this is what I would recommend if you are going to start a district program. I really recommend that you look at your current reality in your district. To go in and assume nothing is going on is a mistake, because I guarantee something is happening at the sites. So figure out what that is and meet those people early on and start to create a network of experts and coaches and enthusiasts. If you think I know what I'm talking about on this call, it's only because I learned from the people I just mentioned. The people on this call, when they ask me questions or they give me suggestions in the MVUSD team, that's where I take those and figure out, okay, what do they mean by that? And yeah, we could probably do that. Let's mix it in this way. And then certain things that don't fit our mission, vision, and values, which I didn't show for brevity, that I'll put those in a parking lot and we'll work on those when time permits. So we created a network in Teams, in Microsoft Teams, which is a way for us to interact and share ideas and great announcements, which will come soon for that tournament, hopefully. And then I recommend definitely you have to connect with NASF. They're going to make you even smarter. I would not be able to be on this call if it were not for Kevin. He's been a fantastic resource. Even just knowing that I have someone as erudite as he is, an email away really took a lot of the pressure off when I was asked to lead esports for our district. Josh and I really owe him a big debt of gratitude. Speaking of Josh Combs, that fourth bullet probably should be bolded completely. That you've got to, if you're not already in the tech department, then you need to partner with them early on. And on the flip side, if you are in the tech department and starting a program, make sure you connect with someone on the education side. I'm more on the education side, so that's why I'm so happy to have Josh. We have complementary skill sets, and we have 2 times the bandwidth with 2 people, building something like this. What we did is we developed an equipment wish list because one of our main values is equipment equity across the sites. We did not want one site to say, "Hey, they got this. Why don't we have that?" That's not cool, and it wouldn't work for tournaments anyway. So we developed a wish list for equity without knowing what our budget was going to be. We just shot for the stars and said, "Hey, if we wanted to do consoles and/or PCs, here's what we really think we would want." And then what we did is, this has been great. I mean, this is huge. We were very lucky to have buy-in at the top, really built in from a couple years ago. If Josh were here, he would explain the original startup for esports in Moreno Valley Unified School District was a couple years ago. There was some interest from the principals, and we had a meeting with directors, and then COVID hit. And so it just stopped. And then after COVID, that's when I was lucky to be asked to take it on. But yeah, we've had buy-in from the top. And if you don't yet have buy-in, connecting esports research to the existing district goals is a very simple way to pique their interest. Look at your schools or your district's panorama surveys, your SEL surveys, because the research says that this is a great way to connect kids to schools. That's one of our side quests. Josh's and my side quest for the district is to increase our school engagement as reported out by students by 2% every year, and we're going to focus in on those who join their esports programs at their sites. Yeah, the funding sources, of course, that's huge. We're very fortunate. We have some funding sources that have come down the pike that, because we have buy-in at the top, they're very willing to utilize these funding sources to help with equipment across the sites. And I can't really emphasize this next piece first. If you're starting a program, there's going to be a lot of great ideas, and you're going to want to do all of them. And you can, but just scope and sequence them, triage them. And I recommend focusing on the club creation first across the sites. You're going to have smart people at these sites who could take it, even with incomplete information. They'll take it and run with it. The people on this call had incomplete information, and that they were still able to start clubs for Moreno Valley School District. And then sure enough, the tournaments and leagues are now starting to pop up. These clubs are starting to ask about, hey, how do I join that? And they are. For the nerd part of it, make sure if you're starting a district program, you are keeping a very detailed timeline of events, beginning with the first conversation. So that when I got introduced as esports coordinator, I have that on my timeline. If this happened on this date, and then when I met with so-and-so about this and that, I put that on the timeline. Because superintendents who are busy and have a lot of initiatives to think about, they want to know that you have your ducks in a row and then you've talked to the right people at the right times. And so having a timeline is very important. And something that Kevin helped us do from the beginning is to think big. We like that previous slide that has all the leagues in it, internal leagues. I don't think, to my knowledge, Kevin can interject that any district is doing that yet, which didn't stop us. Like, okay, well, we will. Maybe not the first year, but that's how I want to think. I met with other esports coordinators from other districts in Orange County and LA County, and they really stress, like, yeah, there are the external leagues. NASEP runs a great one with High School Esports League, and Play Versus runs a great one for CIF, and there's more beyond that. But really think internally, like having schools battle each other is huge, and it's just a total different level of focus for the kids if they're battling their buddies at a different school. But make sure you chunk it and don't be a hero. If you try to do all of it at once, you won't do any of it. So that's why I pause certain great ideas to be dealt with later. One of the other things we learned, I just have a couple more and then I'll pass the baton back to Kevin, is there are so many smart. Oh, total or for me?
Total.
Okay, then I'm going to zip through it. Connect with your district specialists. They're brilliant people in your district already who will make you smarter. And then create a buzz. We got jerseys already. We made this logo early before we had really approval for anything. But once you have a logo, you can kind of leave it places in sticker form, or you can put it on jerseys or whatever, and that starts to create the buzz. So that's just a recommendation from my perspective. All right, pass the baton back to Kevin.
Love that idea. It's Eddie Izzard, right? You can't have a country unless you have a flag. You have to have a flag. So you did. You created one, and that makes it real.
Yes.
Perfect.
All right, Kevin, take it away, sir.
All right. So really quickly, this is important. I do want to deal with this because what comes up every time I meet parents, administrators, educators, it's how am I going to keep my kids safe? Number one thing that comes up is esports is an addictive behavior disorder, isn't it? Isn't it? I can't get my kid to do anything except play games. Well, if you let them run amok and play just games, sure, I can see where that's a problem. But the defeat for almost any of these concerns is this club, is the fact, like Peter's saying, you create the club first and foremost. You put this into, can't see my note. That's right. You put kids into a place where we're doing more than just gaming. And so part of the club is we have club meetings. You have club officers who have certain functions. We got to put the controllers down, step away from the PC, and actually get involved in all the other things we have to do to keep the club moving forward. So addiction means right size. Let's take that energy and let's direct it into other meaningful practices. Same thing with chat access, with internet safety, with toxic behavior. We have a club charter. We have a code of conduct. We have all these things that help us right size and model the good behaviors we want visited on us. We've got to give the same thing to everybody else that we meet, not just in our club, every opponent that we face, like Peter was saying, whether it's cross town, cross country, or cross bodies of water, but then also how we choose to live our lives. And then lastly, Manraj's question about what games are good, you get to pick those. We suggest through NASEF, and your district may suggest others, but you get to pick based on level of age of student, what's popular. You'll do a student survey. Hey, what do y'all play? I'll tell you right now, Grand Theft Auto, never, ever, 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 ever going to be a game you're going to see in MVUSD or with NASEF. There's my warning that we're almost done here. But other than that, all things are kind of on board if we can find the right thing forward. So let me ask you again, who's on board with this? Hands up. Who thinks this is a really good idea? Academic, scholastic, esports. Because I do, not just because it's my job, but because of what I see happening with kids. Nothing rated M, absolutely. Yes, there are age limits, Grace. Ms. Grace, you're absolutely right, or Ms. Grace. So that's the truth. So we've got a few more minutes left, literally a couple of minutes. Happy to entertain any question. You all can come off mic if you'd like, or you can type it in the chat. Peter and I will take any question you want to throw at us in 2 minutes. Mr. Hickman, good to see you. Thanks for coming on board.
Thank you.
Look
much.
at him looking sharp. Look at that. Look at that blazer. Oh, good to see you.
So that I just was in another session, but that question about middle school that continues to pop up. Where is NASEF with that with middle schools?
75 of them so far in our ranks, and the numbers are growing. You're allowed to sign up. We've redone our website. It used to be you had to go kind of off to the HSEL, High School Esports League, to sign up clubs. We've taken it all back. So we're going to reopen that. I think it's next week. You'll be able to go to the NASEF website, nasef.org. 4 quick questions, you're in. Sign up your middle school club, sign up your high school club. You will list that it's a middle school in all capital letters so I can find it easily. But we proportion out all the things you need. You'll get on my radar. I'll come and talk with you. You're right there. I'm in Anaheim. Peter knows, Mr. Hickman knows, I drive out all the time. I'll come visit you. We'll get you set up.
Okay. All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Miss
you.
Moore. Glad the
Great
kids had a
information.
blast. Miss Moore, I want to come visit your class. I swear, I want to see these kids eyeball to eyeball and get things going. Gracie, there's a question for you in the chat about where will we find these recordings and the slide materials. Slide deck they already have, so they can put that in a PDF form and send it out to people. Absolutely.
I believe they're going to be on Sked. Am I right, Steve?
There, and we're either you'll find the link to them once we get all the recordings organized at that link bit.ly esinfo21. We'll paste either the videos on that site or the link to the videos on that site.
Thank you.
There we go. There's a bit.ly right there. That's nice. We're at the top of the hour.
Right.
Thank you everyone for attending. We are overjoyed you're here. You know where to find us. It's pwhitmore@nvusd. Is it edu?
Net. Yep.
Net. Kevin@nasef.org. Easy to find me. Yes, students, if you text me or send me a message, I'll actually answer you. But let's get these things set up. We look forward to talking to you again in the future. Thanks very much, everybody, for coming out today.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining.